everybody. Welcome out to the Dice Tower. My name is Chris Yee.
I'm Z Garcia.
And I'm Wendy Yee.
Today we're taking a look at the newest game from Aporta Games. This is Saltfjord, designed by Christian Ostby and Eilif Svensson. And this is a bit of a, well, it's not a reworking, but it has some familiar DNA with the previous game of theirs that you have championed for a long time.
Right here, Santa Maria. Yeah, a lot of it is very similar, and we can talk about that a little bit more later on. But yeah, there's some systems that are almost one-to-one, and then some inspired by parts.
Yep.
That's cool.
So Z's going to show us how this one plays, and we're going to treat this as a review. If you don't know Santa Maria, that's fine. So he's going to show you from the base up how to play, and then we'll give you our thoughts.
Here we're taking a look at the game setup for 3 players, though I'm only going to be showing you the area for 1 player. This being that 1 player, having this area here for your building tiles, which will come from here, and this for all of your resources, as well as your completed areas over here. And then everybody has a boat, and they begin with some sort of bonus, as well as a few starting things. So the game's going to be played over 3 rounds, and each of those rounds the players are going to take actions until they fully pass. Then we'll set up for the next one, and then we'll do it again. And after that, whoever has the most points, of course, on the victory point track here is going to be the winner of the game. The game has a few different areas, as you can see, and you'll discover what they do and what they are as we go through the actions. So, on your turn, you are going to do one of 3 actions, and they are Action A right here, Action B, or Action C. So let's start with A. A entails taking a die. At the top of the board here, we have rolled some dice in orange and in white, and they're placed wherever they came up. So the 1s go over here all the way up through the 6s up there. And on your turn, you can take 1 die and activate either a row, if it's an orange die, or a column, if it's a white die. You'll see that on your player board right here. Now, you can take 3 white dice throughout the round, and you can take up to a number of orange dice up to the round in which we are. So right now, just 1. And again, this is set up for 3 players, so there are 3 orange dice. And then for the second round, we'll include 3 more orange dice, so everybody can take 2 of those. And then for the third round, 3 of those. So let's say I'm the first player, and I take one of those on my turn. I'm going to choose to take, let's say, this one. It's a white die. It's a 4. I would put it up here for a moment, and I would trigger everything I want to in this column. There are orange spaces and then these yellow spaces, so sort of actions and resources, if you would. And then whichever one was the last I chose to trigger, I'm going to cover that spot with the die, meaning if I would go over that space again with some other activation, I don't get that thing again, all right? And I'll talk about what these things do in just a little bit, but that's basically the idea. I do this. I either do the construction or I move up on the technology, and then I can upgrade, which is what that symbol means, any one of my resources. Then I cover that and I'm done. That's my action. It's the next player's turn, okay? The second option, B here, is I can construct a building. I have to pay 1 wood and 1 lumber there, and I can construct one of those large buildings. I just take the top one from one of those, okay? So let's say I want to do this one. I take the top one, and I can put it in here anywhere that it fits as long as I don't cover anything else. So let's say maybe I do this, and I put it right here, like so. If I complete a full column or a full row, I'm also going to trigger these smaller symbols that are on the walks, the boardwalks, that is. So I would trigger those things. And third option would be to retire, which is probably when you've done enough to use all your dice and you've built, if you've wanted to build, well, then you can take an action to retire. If you do that, you take your token right here. You are going to move it. Let's say I am red. You move it to one of these that is still available, and you take that action. You take that special ability. Boom. And then you are done until all the other players have also passed, and then we get ready for the next round, where again we take all the dice back, we add some new orange dice, we roll all those, we put them back up top, and we get ready for the second round, and then again for the third round. So let's go ahead and slow it down and show you some of the special abilities in play here, okay? First, I want to point you over here to your resource track. This normally, by the way, would sit right here next to your board. You'll see the artwork lines up. But for our purposes here today, I put it up here. So this has your goods, your resources. You have fish at the bottom. If any time you can level that up, you can place one, you can move one from here to here, or to the grain, or to the paper. That levels up again to the 3 things above it, and those can level up to gold, okay? You can always spend one thing as something below it. Therefore, gold can be spent as anything, and I could spend this lumber as just raw wood or as the fish. I cannot spend normally the lumber, though, as, say, a grain. You cannot make those moves in the middle. There are some free actions you can take over here on the side. You can always spend a gold for 3 fish. You can spend any one of these for 2 fish, any one of these for 1 fish. You can also always spend 2 fish to level something up. So I could spend 2 fish from here and take that cube and move it up to there. And this one here means you can always just downgrade something, which I already said. You can just spend something as something below it, okay? Those are free. There's also this free action right here, which means you can take this worker. You begin with 1, and you might unlock 2 more right here. Place him on something and get that ability, and then this is locked. He stays there just like dice stay on places. But that's free. That's not your action. You can do that whenever you want to, and he is going to stay there until the next round out of 3. So you'll get that back, and you put it back over here, okay? So those are free things you can do. Now, the abilities and the actions. The resources are resources is pretty straightforward. You get that, you get that, you get 2 fish, you get grain. This symbol here means upgrade. You pick a thing in here and level it up 1. So I might take the grain and it's processed, okay? The red ones are going to let you, if they have the hammer, they let you build the small one. You'll see the small one is a single hammer. The other one has both. This is not its own action. You cannot choose to do that. Action B is building one of the big tiles. The only way you do this is by triggering it here or on any other tile you purchase. That lets you spend 1 wood and you buy one of these tiles. There's singles, and then there are these 2 space ones. And again, you buy the top one from one of those, place it into your grid. This symbol here with the gear is going to let you level up one of these as long as you pay the corresponding cost in between where you are and the next step. So for example, I could choose to trigger the gear there, and then I could move myself up, paying 1 wood there, move up to here. That's going to let me, as it says there, flip over my boat. Hey, look at that. Now my boat has more spaces to go fishing. Speaking of fishing, this space right here with the boat lets you fish. That lets you either move forward to the next section, and these are groupings of 3, you'll see. So you can move from the harbor forward or from where you were forward and take 1 tile from the top of the first stack. So let's say I was already here. I could move in here and take this tile, put it in here. Boom, it might be fish. It might be a couple of different things. Or the other option when you are doing this fishing is come back home, score this many victory points based on how far out you got. So if you get all the way there and you jump back, that's 7 victory points. And then you cash all this in. And you convert, say, these 2 fish. I would put 2 cubes there from the supply of cubes right here. Boom, that's 2 fish. And I just keep this aside somewhere, okay? So that's fishing. You can only take from the first stack, as I said. You can take from the other stacks if you level up this track here that has to do with fishing, okay? I'll show you what these do in just a sec. I'll go through them quickly. And then lastly, you have this crate right here, which is fulfill an order. If you do that, you have to have the requirements for the thing. You fulfill that order, say give up 2 fish. You take that, you are going to flip this over, and you are going to put it next to the row from which it came. And by that I mean, this is right here. You'll see the same 4 symbols along the side of my board. You take this, you pay the 2 fish, flip it over, and it goes right there, okay? And then the next one gets flipped. Let's say later on I complete this one also. I give that up, and again, you have to trigger this, crate symbol to do that. Great, I complete it. I will get 3 points at the end of the game. Anytime that the victory points are in purple like this, that means endgame scoring. If they're in green, that's in-game scoring. Flip it over. Goes right here. And if I complete this one, it goes here. So basically, you just match the line from where it came. And whenever you pass, whenever you do this rest action, I explain that you get whatever that symbol is. Sailing twice, one of these technologies, what have you. You also then will come over here and trigger that row. Each of your rows, you get the symbol next to it as many times as orders you have completed. So I would get to sail twice because I've done 1, 2 of those completions, okay? So that's also a bonus you get whenever you finish the round for yourself. So that's the final symbol you are going to discover out here. Let's talk about the technology for a second. Again, the costs are in between the steps, so I'll just talk about the steps themselves. This one here is, you get a gold, you get a second fisherman here that lets you, again, you put him somewhere, you take that action, and you get another one up here. Over here, you get to level up your boat. You saw me do that already. Here, you get one of these special abilities. You begin with one, and you get another one. And then up here, you get a reduction on building costs of 1 wood, both the small and the large tiles. Over here, you get 1 fish, 1 paper, 1 wood, if you level up to there. Over here, whenever you take one of these crates and put it next to one of those rows, you immediately get the bonus of where it goes. So I would immediately get to fish once when I put a tile next to that. And then over here means you can put it anywhere. If you take one of these, you don't have to put it on the row that it matches. And then over here has to do with fishing. You get to look at 2 and keep the one you want when you fish. Fish from the level 2s, which are better. Fish from the level 3s, which are better yet. If you make it all the way to the top of these rows, by the way, you'll see that there's 1 victory point, 4 victory points, and then a question mark. Wherever your gears end up, that is going to be some victory points that you'll get. So I'll get 1 point for this one, 4 points for this one. But then this has a question mark because you reference this tile, which is random. And so you get victory points for that. And at the end of the game, you're going to get those victory points. You're going to get these victory points. You also get victory points for complete columns over here next to your player board and a couple of other things. And whoever has the most points, of course, at the end of the game is going to be the winner of Saltfjord.
So I think first note, why don't we talk about production, right? This setting, the way that this is presented, this cover looks amazing. I wish that carried a little bit more into just kind of the overall visual look of the game.
I really agree with that because I don't like the way this game looks. You're right, and the cover striking is sort of, I don't know, minimalistic in a way, sort of a reduced color palette. It looks striking. It's interesting. But then the game looks sort of muddied. I think the graphic design on it looks a little first pass. I don't know. That might be too harsh, but it looks like it needs some massaging.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't have any issues with the look, I think, like art style wise, but I definitely, there's a couple things like how some of the wheat, there's like 2 pieces of wheat, but then when you have 2 fish together, it means 2 fish.
Yes, fair. The icon,
wheat.
yeah.
Right, mm-hmm. There's that, and then there's the player colors. There's nowhere on your board in front of your person whatsoever that tells you what player color you are.
Right.
So, unless you remember from the beginning, which don't always do when you switch player colors, it's hard to remember who am I, what are you?
Yeah, it's just funny little things like that I look at and go, oh, I wish this were cleaned up a little bit. Just graphically, it's very wood. There's a lot of wood motif going on. And I think that's representative of the area of the world that this is based off of, clearly, right?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Aporta Games used to have a really specific look. This look, the Santa Maria look that they had on a little card game called Avenue. They had on Automania. Mm-hmm. Not everybody liked that look, but that look was incredibly clean.
Yeah.
You knew what every little symbol meant. You could see them all because there was no planks of wood background in various gradients. You know what I mean? I could see that that was a person, and this was an engineer, and that's a little guy, holding a shovel. This is very busy, I guess. It's just, I really don't like the look. I think the look hurts it.
Yeah, it is busy. But I do appreciate that at least the graphics, in terms of iconography and everything, after learning it once, I think it sticks.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have any issues with that. And then moving on to more of the gameplay itself, this is an incredibly smooth game.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, game-wise, I really appreciate that this has so many different avenues that you can lean into. You can say, hey, I want to upgrade the gear track. I want to upgrade my board. I want to upgrade my fishing. I want to upgrade my ability to deliver crates. Like, I really appreciate that there's so many different options in a game that takes, an hour and 15 minutes to play? You know, I love that exploration.
And fewer players, even faster than that.
Yeah. It's yeah, and there's all the subsystems also that lead into those things, like getting extra workers. If you're moving that way, the scoring is really neat in this game. Where if you're moving up the gear tracks, step 1 and step 2, it's 1 and 4 points respectively. But then the last one is something randomly chosen at the beginning of the game. So it's different every time. Like, okay, well, I really want to score for that, but it's at the top of the fishing track, the one that helps me with fishing. So I could couple those things. It's sort of, I really like that this game manages to build sort of groups of strategies and then shows you, it's like, here's like 4 or 5 groups of strategies. Pick what you want. You should do the thing that's making its way up the track and the top of the track. You should couple those together and we sell you like a package deal.
That's true.
And with that, because you have those tiles at the beginning that you draft out, it feels kind of like a prelude expansion to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That just comes with the game. It, once again, points you in a direction. And you still totally have options and choices to go from there. But it prevents some of that early thinking of, oh my gosh, I have to think about the whole game and
Right.
make a first choice.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. Yeah.
This does one of my favorite things, which is it kind of does a lot with a little, right? Those tracks, those tech tracks that you move up, are only 3 steps each.
Yeah.
But you couple them with what you're talking about, a little endgame scoring goal that you're setting for yourself that no one else might go for.
Right.
That feels neat, right? And you're doing it with the same 4 technologies that you could choose to move up or not.
Yeah.
Those player powers that you draft at the beginning of the game are these same tiles that also go into a little market on the middle of the board that you can then upgrade into and get more powers. But the fact there's just 8 of them, 4 players draft them out, and then the other 4 go in the middle of the table, it creates a lot of interesting systems without a ton of overhead, and it still creates a lot of variability. So it kind of does like a lot with a little, I think.
Yeah, I'm very happy that the designers showed restraint here in the things they added and how many of those possibilities and options are there. Already being a second edition kind of something else, they could have just taken all of those systems and built and built and built and built on top of that. And they didn't. They took a few, they changed a few. The fishing thing is sort of a modification of a previous track. They could easily be 18 of those tiles, but there's 8.
Yeah.
There could easily be all these other extra systems and things and what have you, but there's not. I like that restraint. I like that the options here are digestible. Strategic, certainly interesting, fast-paced, but not overwhelming. I think that's shows a lot of restraint, and I appreciate that in a design like this.
Any thoughts on that?
I was going to say, my other thought was just, I feel like this game has so much opportunity cost in it, which is that idea of I have to give up or when I get something, I'm giving up a lot of other things. And I see that so much with the way the resources work and the action selection works. I mean, all of that, like I'm giving up the very last space on my rower column when I'm placing that die.
Yeah.
And I think, when do I want to take that so that I'm going to give up something? How can I maximize that while still giving things up? If I want to use my resources, do I want to use them on tracks, or do I want to use them on, the selling crates thing? Like, there's just so many of those moments where you're like, I can do so much, but I have to pick and I have to give up something. And I really enjoy that in games because I feel like that is a good way to drive decision making.
Right.
That choice of letting go. And so I find that to be quite fun.
One of the things I really enjoy from Santa Maria is that dice draft. Like, dice drafting is one of my favorite mechanisms, and then having grids of things is something I also tend to gravitate to in games, and this does the two of those things extremely cleanly.
Yeah.
But speaking of Santa Maria, that's a game that you're more familiar with. I've played it.
I have not played it.
You've not, right?
I've not.
Do you want to speak really quick to some of the differences for people who are coming in with that back experience, I guess?
Yeah, there's a few things. The dice drafting is largely the same, except in this one, in Santa Maria, you have to unlock your own personal dice. They happen to be blue in that one. Here, you just get 2 orange dice during the second round, 3 orange dice during the third. You can choose to stop early on the track, as opposed to in Santa Maria, you have to go to the whole end of the track and then leave the die there. You have to pay money in Santa Maria for the little fisherman guy, and in this one, you earn him going up a track. It's a lot of lateral moves.
Okay.
Taken as a package deal, this is a little heavier.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
I think Santa Maria is a little bit lighter. It feels a bit to me now having them side by side. Santa Maria feels like the dry run for this in a way. Not that this is that much heavier. It's just a lot of those things that were your decision in Santa Maria. Here they're like, just have it. Make choices with that. That seems to be the big push. And I think that's interesting. The resource market in this is much wider open. In Santa Maria, it's fewer things. There's no scaling up.
Yeah.
And you have limits of 3 on each. So you can only have 3 grain. In this, they don't care. They're like, here's the grid. You can level things up, level them down, go. We're giving them to you. Yeah. It's a little heavier, I would say. There's a little more thought that goes into it. I still prefer Santa Maria because I find it more digestible, and I really like the look much more than this.
Yeah.
But if you want the more thinky of the two, I would say this is a little thinkier.
So I'll just kind of segue that into my final thoughts then. I agree that I think Santa Maria is a little bit maybe cleaner or just in general simpler, which is not a bad thing to say that something is a little bit lighter or whatever. But I enjoy this one a lot. I've been really mulling over my score, but for me, I'm giving this one an 8.5, which is the same score that I give Santa Maria. It's the same rating, but I like them for kind of different reasons, even though they have similar systems, right? You can upgrade and get more bonus actions at the end of each round. That feels great. This one feels like it's a little bit maybe harder to kind of earn those, but a little bit more exciting when you go to the end of the round and you just fire them off. But you can also kind of specialize into different things with it. It's very rewarding. Simple systems, depth of choices.
Right.
That's great. So I like this one a lot. I personally just agree with you. I think Santa Maria is more attractive. It pops as a visual design. But this one might be the better game, so to speak. But I'm kind of torn as to which one I like more. And they kind of split right down the middle for me, personally.
Yeah, it's an audience thing for sure, because I think people who are gamers, heavy gamers, are going to be bored with Santa Maria much faster than they would with this. I prefer Santa Maria because I can get a wider audience to play, I think. It's an easier barrier to entry. And yes, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep hitting the visual, look and simplicity and appeal bell. For me, I'm giving it the same thing. I'm actually coming down at an 8.5 as well, but I rate Santa Maria 9. I think it's a fantastic game, and this is very good as well. You absolutely should jump on this if you want to see those lovely mechanisms at play, that simplicity coupled with that depth that you've both hit on. That idea of I take a die, I trigger a few things, and then it dawns on you, hold on, I buy the tile first, then trigger the die. Oh my gosh, it's like I just bought 3 workers in a worker placement game. Right? Instead of getting more workers, each worker triggers more things in a row. And that's just a really cool system. 8.5, excellent game.
All right, well, I'm going to give this a 9. I think it was fabulous. And a lot of what you said there, you can have those really awesome mega turns if you set yourself up right with your grids, with the dice, with the workers. I mean, you could have some really awesome feeling turns. And even when you don't have those big turns, you still have like a quick, useful turn that sets you up for something in the future. And I really appreciate that this does have great strategy, so many different directions that you can go in, and you can mix and mingle. It's not like I'm only going fishing and fishing is it. Like this is my fishing game, and I'll do worker placement a different time. I like that you can mix and mingle. I do find that you can get a bit ADD distracted with stuff. So if you do try to do a little bit of everything, you're going to get a whole lot of nothing. But I think that it's fun and there's a lot to explore in it. So 9 for me.
There you go. And part of me does wonder, actually, if maybe you like this one, maybe it sings to you more because there's such great systems and you don't have kind of this negative comparison point.
Yeah, these are brand new concepts.
Yeah, it's all brand new
Absolutely,
to me.
And I could see that. I mean, if I'd never played the original game, the dice system would be even more impressive.
Right.
Because it's so cool. It really is neat, but it's almost a one-to-one with the old game.
Yeah.
So if you haven't played the original, this might even sing to you more, and you might not feel some of those negatives that we've expressed. But we're all in agreement here. This is an excellent game, earning a Dice Tower Seal of Excellence with a high score of a 9. So that's Saltfjord, everybody. Thanks for coming out to this review. My name's Chris Yee.
I'm Z Garcia.
And I'm Wendy Yee.
Have fun fishing.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Bassel.